Sora versus Shay. Fusion versus Xyz. Frightfur versus Raid Raptors. There was a bitter rivalry between these two duelists and their respective home dimensions. Sadly, they only had 2 duels over the course of the Arc 5 series, with 1 win for each of them. So it would be safe to say, statistically, they were on par. However, their rematch, I'm gonna call it what it was. It was an off-screen win for Sora. It didn't feel deserved. And don't get me wrong, both these duelists are absolutely capable. I have no doubt that Sora could have won this rematch with the deck that he has and his ability as a duelist. It's just what we see on screen just isn't enough for me to really believe it, you know? So, since we never got a final deciding duel and the rematch was iffy, I'm gonna try and do the work and see if Shun really could have won that rematch. Or perhaps I owe Sora an apology. Maybe he was the better duelist. Forewarning, I'm going to say Shay's Japanese name Shun a lot today. I'm just going to get mixed up a lot because I watched the Japanese originally. You'll see what I mean later anyway. At the end of the day, we won't know unless we jump into the duel. The action duel begins, and Sora goes first. His opening hand consists of Fluffle Bear, 2 copies of Fluffle Sheep, Frightfur Defender, and Fluffle Crane. Sora starts by summoning his Fluffle Bear to the field. Now, since he controls a Fluffle monster, he is allowed to special summon his Fluffle Sheep from his hand straight to the field. He summons both of them into defense. Sora sets his Fluffle Crane face down and ends his turn. Right off the bat, I just want to get something out there. I really like the Frightfur archetype. The idea of it is just how deceiving it is. Sora begins the duel with cute and cuddly Fluffles. The kids in the crowd absolutely love it. But then you start getting the edgems, which are all like knives, chainsaws, sharp things, and you're like, that's a bit weird. Doesn't seem to gel very well with these fluffy toys, but okay, we'll just ignore that. And then as soon as Sora starts fusing them, the cuddly creatures become the stuff of nightmares, and the little kids are literally brought to tears. I just think it's a cool way to subtly foreshadow Sora's true personality and allegiances, really. Anyway, getting back to the duel. It's Shay's turn, and he draws. His opening hand consists of Raid Raptor Vanishing Lanius, Raid Raptor Symbol, Raptor's Gust, Raptor's Storm, Adversity, and Raid Raptor Return. Shay starts by summoning his Raid Raptor Vanishing Lanius to the field. When it is normal or special summoned, Vanishing Lanius has a lingering effect, which lets Shay special summon another copy of itself from the hand, even if this card leaves the field. This isn't a hard once per turn as well. It's going to get some serious use a little bit later, but he doesn't have a Vanishing Lanius in the hand at the moment, so he can't special summon one, but maybe he will later in this turn. Let's see. Shay enters his battle phase and attacks and destroys Sora's Fluffle Bear. Sora takes the first damage of the duel. Due to a Fluffle monster being destroyed by battle, Sora activates his set trap, Fluffle Crane, which returns a Fluffle monster destroyed by battle back to the hand, and then lets Sora draw a card. Sora returns Fluffle Bear and draws Frightfur Factory. Shay moves into his main phase 2. Now, since a Raid Raptor monster has battled this turn, he is now allowed to activate his Raid Raptor Symbol, which lets him add a Raid Raptor monster from his deck straight to his hand. He adds a second copy of Vanishing Lanius. Now, with a Vanishing Lanius in his hand, he uses the lingering effect from earlier to special summon it to the field. Shay sets Raid Raptor Return face down and ends his turn. Now, 2 things about this turn. 1, Shay could have overlaid his 2 level 4s to make a Raid Raptor Force Strix into defense. He could have then used its effect to add another Vanishing Lanius from his deck to his hand, use the second Vanishing Lanius's effect to special summon the third one to the field. He would now have a more impressive defensive lineup. However, by doing this, he most likely would have been unable to go into his other Xyz monster on the next turn, so I think he didn't want to overcommit with any Xyz monsters, so I guess it's fine. Alternatively, with so many more trap cards in his hand, he could have set all of them. And I'll be honest, if he did, he might have won the duel that way. He has 2 cards in his hand that have the exact same effect. If he has a Raid Raptor on the field, he can negate the activation and effect of a spell or trap and destroy it. If he had set both of these, he can negate Sora's polymerization, and then if Sora used his Fright Fur Factory to try and use another fusion, he could have negated that and destroyed that as well, putting that at a really serious advantage. Now, do I understand why he didn't do this? Yes, because if the opponent has a blowout card and destroys all his back row, well, he loses everything at once. And as we find out over the course of this duel, he needs that back row to keep himself in the duel. Sora does have a monster in his extra deck that can destroy multiple cards in the field. So if he felt like there was too much back row, maybe he could have gone for that and destroyed everything. I don't think there are any real misplays this turn. No issues from me. It's back to Sora, and he draws Edge Imp Sabers. He normal summons it to the field. Due to its effect, when it is summoned, he can target a Fluffle monster he controls and return it to his hand, then special summon another Fluffle monster in his hand in its place. He returns one of the Fluffle Sheeps to special summon Fluffle Bear. As Fluffle Sheep was returned to the hand, its second effect activates, letting Sora add Polymerization from his deck straight to his hand. He activates it and fuses Edge Imp Sabers and Fluffle Bear together to make Fright Fur Bear. Sora enters his battle phase and uses Fright Fur Bear to attack and destroy Vanishing Lanius. Normally, when Fright Fur Bear destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the grave, it would then equip the monster in the grave to itself to increase its attack by that monster's attack points. However, Shay activates his set trap, Raid Raptor Return, which returns a Raid Raptor monster destroyed by a battle back to the hand. Because of this, Fright Fur Bear is unsuccessful in equipping it to itself, so no attack point gain. Sora sets Fright Fur Defender face down and ends his turn. It's Shay's turn, and he draws his last copy of Vanishing Lanius. With 2 of them in his hand, he summons one to the field. Thanks to its effect, he can summon another copy of itself. He summons the second one. With 3 level 4 Winged Beast type monsters on the field, he overlays all 3 to exceed summon his Raid Raptor Rise Falcon. Shay activates its effect. By detaching one of its materials, its attack increases by the total attack of all special summon monsters the opponent controls until the end of the turn. Rise Falcon's attack rises. Now keep in mind, this monster also has another ability. It can attack every special summon monster the opponent controls. However, it can only attack special summon monsters the opponent controls. And so Shun enters his battle phase and orders Rise Falcon to attack and destroy Fright Fur Bear and Fluffle Sheep. Shay sets his Adversity and Raptor's Storm face down and ends his turn. It's Sora's turn, and he draws Edge Imp Saw. He summons it to the field. Since it was normal summoned, he activates its effect, which sends a Fluffle monster from his hand to the grave in order to draw 2 new cards. He discards Fluffle Sheep and draws Edge Imp Chain and Fusion Conscription. He activates Fusion Conscription. This card allows him to reveal a fusion monster from his extra deck, then add one of its fusion materials to his hand. However, the card he adds can't be summoned or use its effects. He adds Fluffle Leo. With all the pieces in place, Sora activates his continuous spell, Fright Fur Factory. Due to its effect, by banishing a spell card with polymerization or fusion in its name in his grave, he can fusion summon a Fright Fur monster using monsters from his hand or field. He banishes polymerization to fuse Edge Imp Saw on the field with Fluffle Leo in his hand to summon Fright Fur Leo. He activates its effect, which is, once per turn, it can target one monster the opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the destroyed monster. Sora targets Raid Raptor Rise Falcon. However, Shay grabs an action card called Mirror Barrier, which prevents a card from being destroyed by card effects. Rise Falcon isn't destroyed by the effect. Sora enters his battle phase and uses Fright Fur Leo to attack and destroy Rise Falcon. Shay, however, activates his set Adversity. Since the monster he controls was targeted for an attack by a monster with more attack, his monster is not destroyed in the battle. Shay takes no battle damage from that battle, and his monster gains a permanent 1000 attack increase. With no further plays, Sora ends his turn. It's Shay's turn, and he draws Rank Up Magic Raptor's Force. He immediately activates the effect of Rise Falcon. By detaching another of its Xyz materials, Rise Falcon's attack rises by the total attack of all of Sora's special summon monsters. Shun enters his battle phase and orders Rise Falcon to attack and destroy Frightfur Leo. However, Sora finds and activates the action card Evasion. This card would prevent the attack. However, Shay uses his set counter trap Raptor's Storm, which negates the activation of an opponent's spell or trap while he controls a Raid Raptor monster. Evasion is negated. The attack continues. Leo is destroyed. Shay sets Raptor's Gust and Rank Up Magic Raptor's Force face down and ends his turn. It's Sora's turn, and he draws Suture Rebirth. He activates it to special summon a Fluffle monster in his grave to the field. He summons Fluffle Sheep. He activates the effect of Frightfur Factory again, this time banishing a card with fusion in its name, Fusion Conscription. He fuses Fluffle Sheep on the field with Edge Imp Chain in his hand to summon Frightfur Sheep. Due to its effect, when this monster attacks, the opponent can't activate any spells or traps until the end of the battle phase. Sora enters the battle phase and uses Frightfur Sheep to attack and destroy Rise Falcon. As Sora moves into the main phase 2, Shay activates his set Rank Up Magic Raptor's Force. This allows him to special summon an Xyz monster that was destroyed by a battle this turn. Then Xyz summon a Raid Raptor Xyz monster that is one rank higher, using it as one of its materials. Rise Falcon returns to the field before immediately being ranked up into Raid Raptor Blaze Falcon. Sora, with no further moves, ends his turn. It's Shay's turn, and the penultimate turn of the duel. He draws and gets Rank Up Magic Revolution Force. I'll talk about that card in a minute. Shay starts by activating the effect of Blaze Falcon. By detaching one of its materials, he can destroy every special summon monster the opponent controls, and then inflict 500 damage for each monster destroyed. Sora, wanting to keep his monster on the field, activates his Frightfur Defender, which prevents the destruction of a Frightfur monster by battle or card effect, and instead increases its attack by 800. Shay isn't done, however. The second effect of Blaze Falcon lets it attack directly, and so he does. After dealing damage, the third effect of Blaze Falcon activates. Since this monster inflicted battle damage, it can now destroy one monster on the field. Shay attempts to destroy Frightfur Sheep again, however Sora finds the action card Mirror Barrier to prevent his monster's destruction. However, yet again, Shay was prepared and activates his set trap Raptor's Gust, which negates the activation of an opponent's spell card and destroys it while he controls a Raid Raptor monster. Mirror Barrier is negated. The effect of Blaze Falcon destroys Frightfur Sheep. Shay sets Rank Up Magic Revolution Force face down and ends his turn. Right, okay, so this Rank Up Magic Revolution Force. Oh my god, this is a situational card that Shay shouldn't really be playing, and I'll explain why. Its effect is gain control of an opponent's Xyz monster, then Xyz summon a Raid Raptor Xyz monster that is one rank higher than that monster by using it as an overlay unit. I'm sure in Shun's homeworld, his Xyz dimension, where literally everybody plays Xyz and there's no other summoning mechanics, this is a great card. Oh, my opponent has a rank 4. I'll take that and make my rank 5. Profit. We're not in the Xyz dimension. We're in the technically standard dimension, pendulum dimension, whatever you want to call it at the moment. People playing all sorts. Also, Shun is specifically a revolution fighter against the fusion dimension. Why is he playing an anti-Xyz card in his deck? And obviously it's very specific as well. Like if your opponent doesn't have the right level, it's not going to be great. I wouldn't mind, but this is the card that is going to turn the tide of battle. I just think it's one of those real plot cards. Everything had to go right for this very specific card to win the duel, which is going to do. There shouldn't really be a reason why he plays it, especially against Sora, a known fusion dimension cards user. Sam from the future here found an interesting piece of dialogue from Shay where he talks about how he always prepares for the worst possible situations. He even thinks about if his teammates would be taken by the enemy. I'm not 100% sure if that implies, oh, if my teammates take them, we must fight to get them back, or if it means, oh, if they get turned to the dark side, we even need to fight against them. So that's why I have an anti-Xyz card in my deck. So not 100% sure, but if that's the case, that could explain why he has this card in his deck. And funnily enough, when this card came to the real world, they actually fixed it. If you had this version of the card in the anime, well, I probably wouldn't be moaning about how specific it was to be pulled off. But yeah, fun fact. It's just one of those things. So you'll see what I mean. Let me go into the next turn. It's Sora's turn, and the final turn of the duel. He draws and gets Frightfur Fusion. He activates it immediately. Due to its effect, he can banish monsters from his field or grave to summon a Frightfur monster. He banishes Frightfur Bear, Frightfur Leo, and Frightfur Sheep to summon Frightfur Chimera. Sora enters his battle phase and orders Chimera to attack and destroy Blaze Falcon. The attack is successful. Due to Frightfur Chimera's effect, any monster it destroys in battle is summoned to his side of the field. As well, Chimera gains 300 attack for each monster Sora controls that was special summoned this way. Before Sora can attack Shun directly with his own Blaze Falcon, Shun goes for his final play. Now, with an Xyz monster on the opponent's side of the field, the criteria has been met for Shay's rank-up magic, Revolution Force. This allows him to gain control of an opponent's Xyz monster, then Xyz summon a Raid Raptor Xyz that is one rank higher, using it as an overlay unit. Blaze Falcon is ranked up into Raid Raptor Revolution Falcon. Since a Raid Raptor monster was used as an overlay unit for its summon, its effect activates, which allows Shay to destroy a special summon monster Sora controls and then inflict damage to him equal to half the destroyed monster's attack. I've just realized it's even more specific, like the opponent had to take a Raid Raptor monster so that Revolution Falcon could have its special effect as well. Wow. Sora attempts to search for an action card to keep him in the duel. While he does find one, it's too late, as a solid vision building falls onto him before he can use it. Frightfur Chimera is destroyed, and Sora takes damage equal to half its attack. Shun wins the duel. Now, while I do think Shun played a very impressive duel, especially with the amount of back row utilization he had, shutting down the opponent's plays and everything, obviously that last turn I'm very funny with, but I have to admit, Sora could have won the duel this turn. Had Sora made instead Frightfur Tiger or Frightfur Sabertooth with his Frightfur Fusion, well, Shay only had 2200 life points left. Had he summoned Tiger, he could have destroyed Shay's Xyz monster and his back row and then attacked for game. Had he summoned Sabertooth, he could have brought back any of his graveyard Frightfur monsters, the bear, the sheep, the Leo. To win, he would specifically need to bring back Frightfur Leo, because with its effect, it could destroy the opponent's monster. That would then deal damage, both could attack for game, and that would be game over. Fun fact, Revolution Falcon can't be destroyed by battle, because if it battles a special summon monster, that monster's attack and defense becomes 0. Out of all of the fusions Sora had left, he picked the one and only one that would not win him the duel. And it's not like it was a bad decision in the moment. Like, any of those fusions could have gone for game. It's just the one that he picked was the wrong one in hindsight. So you can't blame Sora. I can only blame the plot, unfortunately. Maybe he did it because he wanted to show off, defeat the opponent with their own monster. I can see that from Sora. So yeah, Shun, technically, you should have lost this duel if Sora would have made one tiny difference. Never mind, I guess. Let's see how the rematch goes. The duel begins and Sora goes first. His opening hand consists of Edge Imp Tomahawk, Edge Imp Frightfur Lloyd, and 3 mysterious cards. One of these mysterious cards, I think I'm going to be able to figure out a little bit later, but the other two, we might never know what they are. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Sora summons his Edge Imp Tomahawk into attack. He activates its effect to inflict 800 damage to the opponent by sending one Edge Imp monster in his hand to the grave. He sends Edge Imp Frightfur Lloyd. Shay takes the first damage of the duel. Sora sets a mysterious spell or trap face down and ends his turn. It's Shay's turn, and he draws. His opening hand consists of Raid Raptor Vanishing Lanius, Raid Raptor Fuzzy Lanius, 2 copies of Raid Raptor Singing Lanius, and 2 mysterious cards. Shay summons his Vanishing Lanius to the field. Due to its effect when it's summoned, now for the rest of the turn, even if his card leaves the field, Shay can special summon another copy of Vanishing Lanius from his hand. Since he doesn't have one yet, he uses the effect of his Fuzzy Lanius in his hand, which can special summon itself to the field if there is a Vanishing Lanius on the field. With 2 level 4 Winged Beast type monsters, he overlays both to Xyz summon his Raid Raptor Forstrix in attack. Shay activates the effect of Forstrix by detaching one of its materials. He detaches Fuzzy Lanius to add a level 4 Dark Winged Beast monster from his deck to his hand. He adds a second copy of Vanishing Lanius. Not only that, but since Fuzzy Lanius was sent to the grave, its effect activates, letting Shay add another copy of itself from his deck to his hand. Shay uses the lingering effect of Vanishing Lanius from earlier to special summon another copy of itself from his hand. Yet again, since Vanishing Lanius is summoned to the field, its effect activates, letting him, if he gets another one, special summon another to the field from his hand. Shay uses the second Fuzzy Lanius in his hand and special summons it to the field since there is a Vanishing Lanius on the field. Due to Forstrix's effect, it gains 500 attack for each other Winged Beast type monster on the field. Now, here is where the duel cuts away for a minute, and when we come back, the game state has changed. However, this is actually quite easy to figure out what happened in this blank spot. Based on the field, this is how it went. Shay overlays the new Vanishing Lanius and Fuzzy Lanius to Xyz summon a second copy of Forstrix. He detaches one of its materials from it to use its effect. He detaches Fuzzy Lanius. He adds a level 4 Winged Beast with its effect to add Raid Raptor Vanishing Lanius again. Fuzzy Lanius, which has been sent to the graveyard, uses its effect to add another Fuzzy Lanius from his deck to his hand. You gotta love no hard ones per turns. Since a Vanishing Lanius had been special summoned, its lingering effect lets another be special summoned to the field. Since there's a Vanishing Lanius on the field, he special summons Fuzzy Lanius from his hand. He overlays both again to make a third copy of Forstrix. For some reason, he never uses the third Forstrix's effect to add anything new to his hand. I guess it's fine because we move back into the duel here. With an Xyz monster on his side of the field, he special summons his 2 Raid Raptor Singing Lanius from his hand into defense. With all these monsters on the field, Forstrix's attack rises higher than Sora's 1800 attack monster. With enough attack to go for game, Shay enters his battle phase and uses all 3 Strixes to attack. Yet again, we cut away from the duel here, and when we come back, the game state has changed completely, this time much more severely. However, we can determine that since Sora only has Edge Imp Tomahawk on the field in attack, there is no way he could survive all 3 attacks from Shun's monsters. So it's easy to determine that the face down card was what kept Sora in the duel here. It couldn't have been an action card because Sora did state he wouldn't require any action cards to keep himself in the duel this turn. Based on this information, this is how the rest of the battle phase went. Shun attacks and destroys Edge Imp Tomahawk, dealing 300 damage. Sora activates his trap, which, based on the cards Sora uses throughout the series, I've determined that the only thing that will really keep him in the duel here is a trap card called Designer Frightfur. By using this trap, it has the effect to target one Edge Imp or Fluffle monster in the grave, special summon it, and it is treated as a Frightfur monster. Thanks to this, Sora could return his monster back to the field into defense. The second Forstrix attacks and destroys it again. The third attacks Sora directly, leaving him with 1600 life points. After this, Shun most likely went into his main phase 2, probably set those 2 mysterious cards in his hand face down, as that seems to be how he played in the last duel, a lot of back row cards, and then we would move back to Sora's turn, which we may never know for sure how it goes, because we move about 3 turns into the future. Shay now controls only 1 Forstrix. He has returned 2 of the Vanishing Laniuses in the grave back to the field, along with 2 Fuzzy Laniuses. The Vanishing Laniuses are in attack, while the Fuzzy Laniuses are in defense. He has no back row, no cards in his hand, and his life points sit at 2100. On the other side of the field, Sora controls Fluffle Mouse and Edge Imp Sabers, both in attack. He has no back row anymore and no cards in his hand, and his life points sit at a mere 300. The implication is at the very least, Sora has had his turn, we've gone back to Shun's, Shun's had his turn, and we are now moving back to Sora's turn. It is possible to figure out the game state in this, but it would just take so much work. You've got to go through all these cards, you've got to figure out exactly what came to the field and everything. And I'll be honest, it's really hard to figure out how the board got left this way. It's just kind of a wacky field to have the mouse and the edge imp monsters in attack position. The best I can give you is Sora must have wiped out 2 of Shun's Xyzes, as well as his Singing Laniuses, dealing 1100 damage in the process. Not too hard, as with every monster that Sora removes, Shun's 4 Strixes get weaker and weaker. Shun must have used his back row for protection or to bring back the Xyz materials that were lost to the graveyard, back to the field or something like that, because somehow he's got those monsters from the grave to the field, so it must have been back row. What card would do that? I'm not too sure. It's hard to believe though as well, because why wouldn't Shun just overlay these cards as well? He's got 4 level 4 monsters primed for Xyz materials. I guess he doesn't have any other great rank 4s. Like, it doesn't look like Sora has any special summon monsters on his side of the field. So if he went for his Rise Falcon, I guess it wouldn't do anything there, but I don't know. It just seems weird to have all these monsters. I guess he's using them all on the field as a form of defense, I guess. Anyway, somehow we must have gone back to Shun's turn, and whatever he made must have wiped out Sora's field and then dealt 1300 damage to Sora. But how, after the attack, Sora ends with the mouse and the edge imp on the field into attack? It's hard to say. I mean, it must have been a trap to replace a monster that was destroyed or something like that. That's how it survived. But then why wouldn't Shay just have all of his monsters in attack and just attack everything? Like, you don't know. Like, it must have been back row or something involved. The point of the matter is, it's above my pay grade. If you would like to, at home, try and reverse engineer the duel from where I've kind of left it and where the animators didn't animate it or anything like that, if you can figure it out and get to this point, I would love to see it. Link it to me if you make like a YouTube video or a little text thing or something. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Anyway, let's move back to the duel. It's Sora's turn, and the final turn of the duel. He draws and gets Polymerization. He activates the effect of Fluffle Mouse. Since it's in attack position, it lets him special summon 2 more copies of itself from the deck. Sora activates Polymerization to fuse Edge Imp Sabers with 1 or more Fluffle monsters on the field to summon Frightfur Tiger. He fuses all 4 of his monsters. Due to Frightfur Tiger's effect, it can destroy cards in the field up to the number of fusion materials it had for its summon. Since 4 monsters were used, Sora destroys 4 of Shun's cards. He destroys the 2 Vanishing Laniuses and the 2 Fuzzy Laniuses. Since Shay no longer controls any other Winged Beast type monsters, 4 Strix's attack drops to 100. The second effect of Frightfur Tiger increases the attack of all Frightfur monsters on the field by 300 for every Fluffle and Frightfur monster on the field. Since there is 1, it gains 300 attack, which is exactly lethal, as Sora uses Frightfur Tiger to attack and destroy 4 Strix, winning Sora the duel. Now, I'll be honest, after analyzing both these duels, I don't think I really gave Sora enough credit at the start. I do think he's a very capable duelist, and he definitely could have won that first duel. And obviously he won this duel. I just don't like the way it was done because we missed so much. And yeah, I guess it might be a fair win because Shun went for like an OTK at the start. Maybe he could have played more defensive or something like that. But then again, Shun doesn't have any more level 4 Xyzes really to go into for Variety of the Spice of Life, or at least not when he plays in the Arc 5 series anyway. So I think without his rank up magics, Shun really suffered in this duel. But to answer the question, it doesn't look like Shun could have won this rematch with the cards that we have seen he has. Whereas Sora, he could have won their first duel. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Want to see me play the Frightfur deck? Well, I have a video of that if you'd like to check it out. Or if you'd rather watch this one right here, you're more than welcome to. Thank you all for watching, everybody. Catch you later.